Hello there, everyone. I'm Lilith Fox.
I'm Sulky.
And welcome back to the Streamer's Den, where we facilitate community conversations on streaming and content creation.
In this video, we're checking in about fluctuations and changings in engagement and your CCV, which means concurrent viewership, and how to accept and make the most out of the changes happening in the world right now. We're in a time where thankfully more and more people are getting vaccinated and beginning to return to some pre-pandemic activities. And your streaming career should acknowledge these changes because it's going to affect your community. It's especially going to affect those who built a community during the pandemic, perhaps attracted people who were not previously a part of platforms like Twitch, YouTube, and Discord. And a lot of people were drawn to these platforms to socialize when they were in isolation. We'll need time to adjust to see how and if these spaces fit into their lives post-vaccination as they return to their work and some of their other routines. It's important to remember that adjustment periods are difficult, and your community is most likely going to be impacted by it. Some people might disappear for a while as this transition eats up their spoons and energy, but they end up returning in some capacity once they've adjusted to their new routines. In addition to these changes on Twitch and other platforms due to the pandemic, there are a lot of other reasons why your CCV might be impacted and begin to fluctuate. One of the most common is changing what you do on stream, whether it's the game that you play or the activity that you do, or switching to just chatting.
Take a moment to reflect on your community and ask yourself the following questions. How much of your community shows up for you and the community specifically? And how much of your community is drawn, at least mostly, to a specific game or activity? Generally, communities are made up of some blend of the two. Has your community had enough time to bond with you and each other, to the point where they don't care what game you're playing, they just come to hang out with you and each other? Or do you think that the game that you're playing or the activity that you're doing most often really determines whether or not the majority of your community shows up? The truth is that some viewers really only care about the game that you're playing, and no matter how much you like them, they're not going to show up if you change games or activities. It's really important to remember that this is okay and it's not personal. Like streamers, viewers have different goals for their time on Twitch or other platforms. While some are certainly there to integrate into your community and build relationships with community members, others are there to watch a specific game or activity. Sure, sometimes you can win over folks who come specifically for a game or activity, but that isn't possible if community is not their goal. That doesn't mean that you and your community are not worthwhile, that you don't offer enough, that you're not doing a good enough job, or that these viewers do not like you as a person. It simply means that your goals and the goals of some of your viewers don't align. That's it, and that's okay.
So how do we cope with viewer fluctuations and shifts in the community? Whether it's because of changes in the overall audience of your chosen platform or shifts in the own content, dealing with changes to your CCV or other markers of engagement is challenging. We've talked in previous videos about how streaming can help you build valuable skills, and we think that one of the most worthwhile ways we have been challenged as streamers is recognizing and leaning into our own self-worth. So now that we have acknowledged that fluctuations in viewer count is inevitable, how do we adapt? Let's consider the following questions. How can you objectively look at changes in CCV or engagement and find a balance between acknowledging external factors and reflecting on what you might need to do to improve your overall content? How do you explore ways to improve your content without feeling defeated or deflated, or tying your self-worth to your CCV or to your value as a streamer? How do you find self-confidence to explore and challenge yourself without letting fluctuations in CCV and engagement dictate your self-worth, or what you choose to do or enjoy on stream. We think it's important that the folks in the streaming community begin to have honest and vulnerable conversations about how to actually cope with changes in numbers and community, because we see an all too common thread of streamers equating these fluctuations to their self-worth. There is an important distinction between keeping a healthy pulse on your content to make changes and improve, and constantly checking and evaluating your performance and tying it to your worth as a creator and as a person.
There needs to be a healthy balance between noticing number changes because of the world changing and number changes because of your performance and who you are as a streamer. Taking changes personally can lead to resentment of your community and even jealousy of other streamers who seem to have what you are struggling to achieve. We could make a whole video on the latter, but let's just say this for now. Jealousy is a human emotion, but it is not a healthy one. Learning to manage and mitigate the feelings of jealousy and competition that sometimes run rampant in this community is central to our streaming goals and the goals for our Streamers Den community. Community over competition, sharing knowledge and wisdom, authentic relationships that fuel authentic content. If you find yourself slipping into feelings of jealousy and resentment, try flipping the script. What can you learn from this person? How can you objectively evaluate your own content? How can you build on your own authentic content to improve? If your first response to seeing another streamer or creator succeed is jealousy or resentment, this could be a sign that you need some new, healthy strategies for coping with the challenges of streaming and building community. For the rest of this video, we're going to share some tips that have worked for us.
Number 1, turn off the view count. Our first tip is something that I think all streamers should practice, whether streaming is your career, whether you're just getting started with streaming, or maybe if it's just your hobby. Turn off your view count while you're streaming. Even if you like to review your CCV after your stream is over or fairly regularly, keep it off while you're actually streaming, especially if you're challenging yourself to stream a new game or finding that viewer fluctuation is seriously stressing you out. The last thing you want to do is feel defeated or deflated while you are live. Instead, while you're streaming, you should focus on attracting the people you want to attract. Focus on creating this space that will carry with you as you grow, whether you have 200 or 2,000 people watching you. What vibe do you want to give off? Why should community members stay? Focus on creating that content and community so that each new person that joins your community will be staying for the reasons that are right to you and align with your long-term goals. Now, when you do review your CCV or other markers of engagement, remember not to lose sight of who did show up for you and your content. Too often we focus on those who were not there, or we focus on our next marker for success. And we forget to celebrate the folks that have actually been supporting us already and how far we've come.
Give yourself the space to experiment, challenge yourself, and grow. Have you ever wanted to try experimenting with new games or activities on stream, but find yourself nervous about branching out because you're afraid that you will lose community or fail? Don't be so afraid of changes to your CCV and engagement that you allow yourself to remain stagnant. Experimentation, failing, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't, this is all central to growing. Contrary to how it is commonly portrayed in most streaming circles, we see no shame in a low or changing view count, especially when you are trying something new, challenging yourself, growing. Take ownership over the ways that you are growing and recognize that CCV is only one marker of success. You can be loudly proud of your successes, even if they don't align with traditional goalposts. So, if you'd like to start trying a new game or activity on stream, try asking yourself the following questions. Why do people watch your stream? What are they getting from it? Is it tied completely to the game or activity that you commonly do? If so, how can you shift that to other games and other activities? When you're streaming, what do you offer? Is it expert gameplay, tips, a new approach to the game or activity, entertaining commentary? How can that carry from game to game or activity to activity? Can you reflect on what made you successful in the first game or activity that you built your community around? Can you incorporate whatever that is into this new game or activity?
And we actually wanted to share a practice that both of us have incorporated in our streams to potentially grow a community that has strong ties to us. One of our new practices for streaming is to always start the stream with just chatting before we jump into a game, especially if it's a new game that we have yet to build community around. Just chatting gives you a good opportunity to challenge yourself on stream and to become more vulnerable with your viewers, to have them get to know you better, for them to share things that are going on in their lives. Ask yourself this: what kind of bonds have you built with your community? If you know that you've developed some strong bonds with your viewers, or perhaps you don't know yet if you have, but you want to know, it could be a good opportunity to find out by doing some other things on stream that you've always wanted to do, but maybe were afraid of doing. It's also a good opportunity to evaluate how many community members stay regardless of the game or the activity that you're doing, and then think about why some folks don't. But remember, like we said earlier, not everyone is on Twitch and these other platforms to integrate into a community, or your community might not be for them. That's okay, and it isn't personal.
Just like with the first game or activity that you built your community around, new folks will find you when you're playing this other game or doing this other activity. Think about how you can attract them to integrate into your community. This might feel like a daunting task, especially if you've spent a decent amount of time streaming a different game already. It might feel like you're starting all over again, and you kind of are, but we actually think that now is a really great time for experimentation. Change might be coming whether you want it or not, and playing something new could be refreshing for you and a good opportunity to attract some new community members.
Number 3, when trying out something new, give yourself time. We think that each stream is a good opportunity to evaluate your streaming skills and focus on how you can continue to grow and improve. Be intentional with your new games or activities. That said, when trying something new on stream, especially for those of us who haven't been streaming long or maybe haven't been streaming variety for too long, we need to remember that it's going to take time to gain comfort in skill in that new activity or game that we're playing on stream. Lean into this challenge, learn from each stream, and ask yourself, what worked and what didn't? How can I improve next time? Sometimes streaming a new game means that we're less chatty and maybe we're not so good with the commentary of the game. Or maybe we're having difficulties monitoring the chat. Or maybe we need time to adjust to the new controls or whatever it might be. If you give up on the game or activity after a couple of streams, you might not actually have been giving yourself enough time to adapt and improve and find your groove with that new activity or game.
Lean on your people. Build authentic relationships with other streamers that are rooted in vulnerability, where you can have these kinds of conversations and talk openly about the challenges that you are facing and the ways that you are pushing yourself without judgment or competition. The comment section right here on YouTube, our brand new Streamers Den Twitter page, and also our Discord are great places to get started. Chances are the streamers that you are already connected to have either faced or are facing the same issues that you are going through right now. Talking it out with them can make a big difference. Change is difficult, especially now. It's natural for streamers to experience dips, lulls, and even loss in community and in engagement. Don't take it personally, don't dwell on it, and don't equate it to your self-worth. Instead, focus your energy into strategically planning your next move, your next area for growth. Whether it's trying new games, trying new activities, finding new ways to connect with your community, building skills, and asking yourself the important questions and reflecting on you and your content, you will find new people who are interested in what you have to offer.
No matter what, streaming should be fun for you and your community. And if you wanted to make streaming a career, it's going to take a long time to do so anyway. People who have made streaming their careers have and currently are experimenting with new kinds of games and activities on stream so they can find community in other places besides that game that they started with. And if you're focusing too much on numbers and it's affecting your mental health, maybe check out this video right here and ask yourself, why are you even streaming?
In the comments below, let us know your thoughts on all of this. Are you experiencing any of these challenges? Do you have any practices that you use to grow and sustain your own community? Are you interested in branching out to new games and new activities? Let us know. As always, the root of this channel is collaboration and conversation, so your input is everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.